Every year, Mojang releases just one huge update where they put all of their focus with regards to graphics, audio, and gameplay design, but also at the same time, they release another update where they spend just a single week and say, that's fine, these joke updates have no limits, and so they've resulted in us getting a new set of dimensions, a new way to place and move blocks, VR headsets in the game, and even the mythical, the legendary Neverite stairs long before these ever came to the base game. And so this raises the question of why are these April Fools so interesting? I think a big part of the reason is that lots of these joke features from the April Fools updates actually end up coming to the main game later. There are many such examples, and interestingly enough, above all of that is the fact that even though Minecraft tries to release one big gameplay update every year, they did miss one in 2015, but despite that, their joke update has come out every single year consistently for longer in a row than that, all the way back to 2011, and so let's show you that update, because 2011 was the first April Fool's update, you might think at least, but this was the first one that was very public, because Minecraft jokingly added a store of silly items not actually available to purchase that you could access through a locked chest block. And it's especially funny looking back now because Notch was absolutely sure that Minecraft would never have microtransactions, and so it's great that the company managed to stick to that vision even after he left. I mean, thank God you can't just say load up Minecraft and then immediately see, say 12 transactions there. It'd be crazy if you could buy 12 separate things in a row that cost, say, anywhere from $3 to $21. Thank God that doesn't exist right now though, but this was the first April Fool's that most people know, but it wasn't the very first one in existence. In fact, the very first April Fool's was planned for 2010, so unlike major Minecraft updates which have been going since arguably 2011, April Fool's attempts have gone back all the way to the start of the game, because May of 2009 was the first time that the game called Minecraft appeared, and it was actually April the 1st of 2010 that would have been the first opportunity to Minecraft to jump onto this, and funnily enough, this Notch tweet here shows that there was a stupid move cutting into his April Fool's time, and he was going to announce Minecraft in 4D, just pretend like I did or something, and, you know, store this in your brain for later because it will come up. Because whether you like him or not, lots of Minecraft's earliest April Fools came from this one man alone, and a great example of this was 2012's Easter egg, where Notch created a website promoting a Minecraft sequel that would be a space-based game. This would be called Mars Effect, and this is in reference to Mass Effect. This was mocking, perhaps you could say referencing more generously, a lawsuit that Bethesda filed against Mojang because of Mojang's own game titled Scrolls, which Bethesda reckoned was too close to the Elder Scrolls. Nowadays, both companies are owned by the same mega corporation, but at the time, this was a real lawsuit, and what's funny about this April Fool's is you might assume, oh, it's just a joke about a thing, but actually, there was a Minecraft-esque space game being developed, and the first trailer for the game came out just a month later.
It's now the year 281,474,976,007,644 AD.
Well, that's an interesting approach to world building. The trailer didn't tell us anything about the game, and even after Notch left Mojang, he wasn't actually sure if he owned the rights to it anymore. It came out again recently. But with that said, let's move into 2013's April Fool's joke, which was called Minecraft Java Edition 2.0. This was the first time we ever got an update to the game as part of the April Fool's, so you can hopefully start to see that taking form. But interestingly, it wasn't publicly available. This snapshot was only sent out to a select few influencers, and that is a very bizarre thing to say, but it is in fact true. If you wanted insanely silly features like the TNT slab, or can you imagine the coal block, or horses, you had to get this snapshot specifically sent to you from Mojang, and this was the first April Fool's snapshot. And although April Fool's snapshot might be a very obvious phrase to those who are really into the Minecraft community, just for a step back, April Fool's is a holiday which is widely celebrated in Europe. It is because of the first of the month. People like to play jokes on each other only up until midday is the usual rule in the UK, but there are versions of this in Ukraine, and interestingly enough, in Italy, Belgium, and French-speaking areas, they often call it April Fish and try to put a fish on each other's back. There's lots of fun versions of this all across Europe, and indeed it is therefore spread to the United States, where many tech companies love to play silly April Fool's jokes. And secondly, a snapshot is a development update of Minecraft. It is a unique formula that Minecraft uses because the game was in beta and alpha for so long. Notch could just publish a new update every time he made changes to the game, but once the game had its full release in 2011, they had to start being more cautious with these development updates, and so rather than rolling them right out to the base game, they instead would do snapshots for a few months at a time, and then once enough snapshots had come to make a fully featured update, they could release that then. The first of these snapshots was released in 2011, November the 24th to be precise, device, which was the 47th week of that year, and so this first snapshot of that 47th week of 2011 was called 11W47A. Wow, fun fact. And so this snapshot not being available kind of makes it not a true snapshot, but instead an April Fool's joke sort of being played on YouTubers and their audiences. But 2014 was a fun one because this was during the peak of Game of Thrones, and so Game of Thrones could come to Minecraft via this silly village Easter egg. Okay, I absolutely loved this, and I know that's in some large part because I like Game of Thrones, which is a controversial opinion on the internet, but as long as you just acknowledge there is no final season, it is a really, really good show. Honestly, I'm also really enjoying the Free Body Problem, the newest show they've been working on, and because the books are all the way finished, I'm hoping that it will go better. I am invested in our fight against aliens. It's one of my favorite concepts for sci-fi, and it's very, very deep sci-fi. It's a lot of fun, but if you were invested in something and you felt like it was going to be ruined, then you might enjoy the 2014 Minecraft experience, because it wasn't just this silly screen which referenced Game of Thrones, it was in fact the fact that villagers have taken over skin servers. Everyone had to have a villager skin for the day. There were also these new villager sounds and music, and this was also the first time that they used certain villager skins, including the nitwit. So in 2013 they had coal blocks and horses, which later made their way into 1.6, and 2014 had the nitwit, which is an interesting proof in my opinion that even though these are meant to be jokes when they start out that way, they have a fairly low time budget as well as development budget, but they still put features in there which they later say, oh, that's actually pretty good. Just playing around with Minecraft is something which is good for the game. This is why many game studios do game jams. In fact, Mojang themselves do game jams where many of the most interesting features will come out of, but that's a point for another time. But now it's worth mentioning 2015 with the Love and Hugs update. This was 15W14A, so the first snapshot of the 14th week of 2015, and this was interestingly the only year in Minecraft's history where they haven't put out a full update. The exact reason for this is up for debate, so let's just give you a brief timeline. 1.8 came out towards the tail end of 2014, and then Mojang was acquired by Microsoft unexpectedly. Then there was a big year gap, and then in 2016, 1.9 came out, which is widely accepted to be the most controversial Minecraft update. And when was this controversial update first announced? Why, 2015 on April the 1st, because the Loves and Hug update came out as a way to say Minecraft has gotten too violent. What if we replace survival mode with existence? And what if swords were replaced with hearts? And indeed, what if all of the graphics in the game for the hearts, the biomes, the structures, and the mobs could be altered? This was the first snapshot that I played live here on this YouTube channel, and I enjoyed my time with basically everything a lot. I mean, the creepers that smile at you were a very nice touch, but one of the most fun things about this was the fact that there was a hidden QR code in the snow in a super flat world, and when I say QR code, I actually mean it was a 2x496 image, which someone converted into a QR code, and when you scan that QR code, it would tell you that 1.9 was the combat update. This Easter egg was meant to be found after weeks or months, if ever, but it was found just a few hours after the release on the same day, and that is when the community knew that 1.9 would be the combat update, which would obviously go on to be one of the most loved updates ever. And so with the combat update coming out in 2016, you know what other update came out that year? That's right, the trendy update. This update meant for the first time we had virtual reality goggles in Minecraft, as well as other great features like these modern signs and smart watches, as well as the most important feature of the entire update, the USB charger. Sadly, or perhaps thankfully, not a single idea from this snapshot has made its way into the base game, and I say that because the only good one would be the USB charger, and you know that just like the real world, if they were going to add USB chargers to Minecraft, that they would add the USB-A port just by the time everyone had switched to USB-C, and no, I'm not bitter about the time that ruined an entire night of my life. Speaking of bitter, 2017 was when a bitter April Fool's came out because they advertised the Mine and Craft digital leisure device with a video, but there was no April Fool's update. Instead, the update was a fun post on their website. 2018 was something similar. There was an update to the game, but it was just to turn everything 8-bit. This was a fun retro look to Minecraft, and the claim was that Minecraft was going to stay this way forever. They were going to permanently change the textures. You might argue they sort of did, because In 1.13, they updated a lot of textures permanently. That's why there is classic textures and the regular ones. But I would say the more interesting April Fools is what came in 2019, because Minecraft 3D released. It was called V1.34, and they added a lot of new items and cheat codes alongside 3D designs and lots of references to 1990s games such as Doom. I really liked Minecraft 3D, but it was a little bit of a weird snapshot, I think, in a few ways. 2020 was the one that really blew us all away, though, because this was Snapshot 24W14 Infinite. What exactly did this snapshot add? Well, over 2 billion procedurally generated dimensions, which you could access by throwing a book and quill into a nether portal, and whatever you wrote in that book and quill would affect what the nether portal will take you to. So there was a regular nether, but also there were all sorts of remixed dimensions. There were some set ones there to be found, and some of these were incredible, but also if you typed something that wasn't one of those sets, it would just take either the end or the nether generation, and it throw entirely random blocks at you with random structures, including new ones specifically just for this snapshot. This was an incredible time to play. Seeing how long you could stay alive was genuinely one of the most fun challenges I've ever had, and this was the most long-term enjoyment I've ever had from a snapshot. It really gets me thinking, what if Mojang was going to add a fourth dimension, and instead of just making it one fixed place, like how there's a nether and an end, what if they did something crazier than that, and made it so a fourth dimension was actually procedurally generated, so it was different every time you went onto it, based on your seed and the location of, say, your ancient city portal. That is obviously theorizing a little bit, but they have the tech to have billions of dimensions without massively ballooning your file size, and it would make the world a lot more interesting, in my opinion, just like how 2021 wasn't interesting in the slightest. The April Fool's joke that year was Minecraft plus a Windows screensaver app with old-style screensavers with a Minecraft reskin. Obviously, the explanation for why this was so boring was this was during the 2020 to 2022 period, where you could get away with not doing anything that you felt like by just saying, oh yeah, you know how it is, there's a big thing happening, and that was a fairly valid reason for lots of in-person activities not to happen, and one of those might be people collaborating on making something fun. Genuinely, lots of fun things were thrown by the wayside because we only worked on essential things, and I think there's a really interesting talk about what essential actually means in the world. Is food essential, or is there an essential type of food and every other type of food is a luxury, or is being healthy essential to doing your job well? You know, if I was sick while recording this video, which obviously I'm not, and those voice cracks are just because I'm going through puberty, if I was, is that an essential thing for me to fix that, or is that something that would be good? I don't know the answers to any of these questions, but I do know that in 2022, we got an even more interesting Minecraft April Fool's joke. This was called One Block at a Time. 22W13, One Block at a Time was the name of the snapshot, and this took away the player's inventory and kind of made a fun joke about Jeb's rule that Minecraft should be done one block at a time, and so players could only hold items in their hands or on their heads, which actually meant two at a time if you think about it. You could stack and throw mobs off the top of the player, and you could also ride the dragon. This was a ridiculous, honestly, idea for something, but it was entirely possible to beat Minecraft this way. This to me was another proof of the resilience of the Minecraft community, more if anything to do with Mojang, and obviously they haven't made it so you can only move one block round at a time, but I guess you could say they took some inspiration about the idea that you should only have a few blocks because they still haven't expanded the inventory, and indeed the one thing we could have used to make it better in the early game, the bundle, is still sitting in development hell, just available on Java, and only via experimental toggle. In other words, they stopped developing it, and not available on Bedrock in the slightest. This is kind of sad, and maybe is something that they at least know is a problem if they made fun of it. You might be able to argue, but I would say it is more making fun of the base rules of Minecraft, because there are a lot of rules that sound like they are fundamentally 100% true, but don't actually really stick out that way. Honestly, I imagine the book of Minecraft rules would be a really interesting one to read. The reason it needs to exist, in case you're curious, is that they basically have a lot of people who are always in the process of joining or leaving Mojang. When it was a 12-person company, each new person you could just have a talk with Jeb personally, but when there are hundreds of employees, that means there is going to be a turnover. Even just the natural turnover is still 20 people a year or so, and there's a bunch of people leaving with some of their knowledge, and a bunch of people joining who don't necessarily know anything outside of what they know about the game or the company from social media or from playing it, and that is why it's important to have a book. I think it'd be interesting to see how many of the pages we actually know about, but that's a story for another time. The story for today is of 2023's April Fool's snapshot. This is the most recent important and so perhaps the most telling, you might say. What exactly was added in 2023? Well, as you all know, one of the best things in the world is democracy. To paraphrase a Winston Churchill quote, there is no system that is any amount worse than democracy at the very least, and so what if democracy came to Minecraft? So at the start of the day, fire appeared on the launcher that you could extinguish with your mouse, and later the vote update 23W13A_or_B, very funny, was released and gave Minecraft users the ability to vote on what should be added to their worlds. Interestingly, this had a lot of similarities with 2020 and 2022, where actually there was a huge challenge that could be had because some of these votes could actually tactically work out in your favor. To allow some of these votes to happen, and just to make Minecraft more weird generally, quite a lot of changes were made, including the bottle of entity, the new la baguette, which is just a type of French bread. There was also Litricular, as well as a potion of big, which gives the big size effect to entities, something they did later play around with, by the way, as well as the potion of small, and even more interesting than either of those things, a brand new dimension. This obviously was accessed by going through the other portal, which looks like this. Wow, it's the Aether. What happens when you go through there? Oh no, I'm just kidding. It says error 404, terrain not found. If you want to go to the brand new dimension, you instead need to go to Y700, and if you can make it to this point, you go to the moon. This is a very silly and fun part of Minecraft. There are many weird exclusive things here, and just in case you think this looks a lot like the end, well, the end is made out of endstone, while the moon is made out of cheese. Such a dumb update. Anyway, the important thing is to say they also have some moon cows and also the lunar base. This was a brand new feature which would exclusively spawn on the moon and would start building an enormous structure that would keep on going. And it's funny because usually the question we would ask here is which of these features made their way into regular Minecraft at some point, and looking through it all, you can actually see that interestingly, there is actually one. It's not the copper sleeves, although technically you could make a decent argument that that's what the copper grate is, but instead it is the big potions and the small potions. The ability to change your size and that of mobs in Minecraft is something that was permanently added to the game. It's a very fun and goofy command. I beat Minecraft, well, tiny in fact, and I had a lot of fun doing so, and so that is the answer to that question. But there is another question in the form of 2024's April Fools, which has broken Jeb's rules about poison potatoes not having a use. We'll start with the Bedrock version of this because it is just a wholesome update that allows you to craft poison potatoes into things that varies from armor to your boy the Mutato to mutated poison minecarts and all of the lovely things in between. But then there is the Java Snapshot, which was made by a lot of different developers over a decent period of time, which just allowed them to have fun with various features if they felt like making them. And this led to over 100 different poison potato features, which is very, very funny to say. And it's funny to be in a whole new dimension, which is filled with these. However, it is also a fully fledged Minecraft update in its own right. A very meme-filled one with a poison potato who tells you what to do, but for the first time it adds narrative to Minecraft, it adds a fourth dimension to Minecraft, a new boss to Minecraft, many popular requested features. However, while doing those, it actually also breaks a very key design rule about not everything needing to have a use by giving even the poison potato one. So let's, I guess, take a step back and question what exactly is going on here, because I think that the logical thing to do would be to say, yeah, which of the features in this update will make it to the base game? We've seen with previous years that some features make it in there. As recently as last year, big and small made it into regular Minecraft. So which of these new features would be great? And I think we could skip by that instead and say, no. What if instead we ask what it is that Minecraft are doing with these April Fools? Because for the past 5 years, minus the COVID year, because just like with the rest of us, the COVID years vanish away for the sake of these comparisons. But for 4 of the past 5 years, they've been kind of taking advantage or making fun of a community rule. And what do I mean by that? Well, take the Infinite Dimensions update. This was adding something that Minecraft's community have been asking for forever. Why don't we have a fourth dimension? Especially with the Deep Dark coming, especially with the end having been, coming to the game a long time ago, people were asking for a fourth dimension like crazy, and so Mojang kind of made fun of the idea of, well, each dimension should make sense by having infinite dimensions, none of which made any sense, all of which were random, and it was fun, but it probably wouldn't have been a perfect long-term addition to Minecraft. Then we have the vote update, which I think is very clear, was there to make fun of the idea that everything should be done by democracy. This was something a lot of people were asking, especially after the sniffer won the mob vote. Like, well, if we made such, why is it we only get to vote on one thing, one tiny feature of a wider update? Surely if you guys like democracy, you should do more. So they had an entire thing kind of making fun of like, well, obviously we can't do that. With one block at a time, they were also making fun of another design rule, the idea that Minecraft shouldn't be a world editor. You shouldn't be able to have a pickaxe that breaks 50,000 blocks, but instead you can break one block at a time, and literally they took it to its highest extent, kind of also poking fun at inventory management if you want to take it further. And the poison potato thing is also something similar. Lots of people say that every time something is added to Minecraft, it needs to have multiple uses. Just one use is weird, and they kind of theorize about where it's going to go, and this puts Mojang in a weird situation where people imagine something way bigger than they've ever promised. And so by adding an entire update around poison potatoes, one of the few items which they have continuously said will not have a use and should not have a use, just for a record, this page from the Minecraft guidebook is in fact not real, but there is a real Minecraft suggestions page where they have rejected ideas, and poison potatoes having any uses on there because they think that some things in Minecraft should exist just for the sake of existing. And that feels very weird to say, but it does very much match up with their game design logic. So what you can see is for these 4 of these past 5 years, Mojang have switched from making fun of the wider games industry to kind of making fun of themselves, making fun of their own rules. They're breaking their own rules 1 year at a time, and that allows us, the community, to see what they could do if they didn't have any rules. And ultimately, even though these are great snapshots, I love the infinite one, and I also really, really love the poison potatoes. I think a couple of the other ones were pretty decent, but these are the 2 big ones, in my opinion. But even though these are both great snapshots and they make you want to play and have it in the base game, ultimately, if you had both of these things combined, it would be already quite messy. What would be the point of infinite dimensions when the poison potato one's so good? But when you start trying to add anything onto these updates, it would start to crumble. I mean, even the creative inventory, there's a poison potato off to the side, the portal takes up more than one inventory slot. There are so many things about this update which are immediate non-starters, but that is kind of the fun of it, right? Is Minecraft gets to break their rules for one day and one day only, and that is why these secret once-a-year updates are starting to become so enjoyable. I think that even though there's like some tiny part of the community that dislike them because they're looking for any reason to dislike Mojang, I absolutely love these, and I hope that you do too. So the next interesting question would be, what rule are they going to break next? I think this is one that we could only answer by going into the Minecraft design book. This is something I've wanted to do for a while, but I think it might make sense to actually work out what principles are Mojang, coming from, what design goals do they have when they're making Minecraft updates, because that would help us as a community be more effective at suggesting things for the future. So that is something I think would definitely be fun to do. I'll be looking into it from here on, that's what the set say. But for now, I have to say I'm very sick. I'm sorry about my messed up. It's weird because it's weird when I am talking and I kind of mess up what sounds like grammar, because I feel like I have a sentence in my head and it goes away. But that is a sign that I need to take a nap or something like that. So that is what I'm going to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, even if my voice was slightly dead by the end. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Stone, cloth, stone, cloth.
Break.
Stone. Uh-oh. 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 Stone.
Explode.
Pop, pop, pop. I am lava. Stay away, I will hurt you. I am lava. Lava. Stay away, I will stay away. I am lava. Stay away, I will hurt you. Stay away, I will hurt you. I am lava. Do 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 do. I am lava. Stay away, I will hurt you.